Marine Corps Commanding General Boomer doesn't want to lose Harriers before his grunts need them.
Let me give you the proposals that are before Saddam Hussein so you understand what his choices are.
All throughout the planning, I had one major overriding fear, and that was that we would get caught or held up while breaching minefields. And while we were slowed down by these minefields, the Iraqis would use chemical weapons against us. And those chemical weapons would be fired by Iraqi artillery pieces. So my main concern was to get rid of the artillery, because my nightmare, so to speak, was being caught there and subjected to chemical weapons. So whenever I talked to our pilots, I tried to stress to them, look, taking out tanks may be a little more fun and it may be sexy, but get the artillery. We'll deal with the tanks. We can handle the tanks. What we are less prepared to deal with are chemical weapons, and they're going to be delivered by artillery, so you get the artillery.
And they did just that. The first day of the air war, the day Allied planes filled the sky over Iraq, Harriers begin their work. And on behalf of the grunts, they go after the Iraqis with a vengeance.
Now, a grunt is not afraid to go through a breach or a barricade. They can take on infantry, tanks, minefields, chemicals. They were not afraid of that.
Hey, George, what's up?
What they're worried about is when you breach an obstacle, you can go through it, but what it does is it channelizes you. You start putting hundreds or thousands of people through very narrow corridors that they've blown through this barricade. Well, once you've now gotten those people into a small area, that's when the artillery rains down on you, because now they've got you in a small area, and that's what scares the grunts, and that's what they were worried about. Now, unless you're attacking, moving your artillery in front of you, which may not be tactically sound, you're going to be moving away from your artillery coverage and into the heart of their artillery envelope. That's where the air comes in. We can destroy all the rocket launchers, artillery pieces, self-propelled artillery. So that was our mission. We're going to make little t-shirts called Arty Busters.
As troops prepare to attack, Harrier pilots join a series of raids on Iraqi artillery batteries near the Kuwait border. The Harriers launch and loiter in what the Marines call a wolf pack. Marine Corps EA-6 Prowlers, with their electronics, jam Iraqi ground radar. Marine artillery sneaks up to the Kuwait border, undetected because of the jamming by the EA-6s. The artillery opens fire and attacks Iraqi artillery positions. The jamming halts long enough for the Iraqis to locate the now withdrawing U.S. artillery. The Iraqis attack, firing their guns. And those muzzle flashes are seen by a Marine pilot in his FA-18D, who directs the Harriers onto the enemy guns.
Okay, I see where lead pits were, and I'm following kind of a dark road to the west, inland. Roger. About 5 miles from the target.
The goal of the mission is not just to destroy enemy artillery, but his morale as well. To let the Iraqi soldier know that every time he fires his artillery, an Allied airplane will attack within seconds. While the Harrier is capable of dropping TV and laser-guided or smart bombs, in the Gulf, the cluster bomb, or CBU, is the weapon favored by the Marine Corps. They drop more of these than all services combined.
As we got up towards the border, we We did our combat checks, made sure that we were ready to start dropping bombs on people. And I always wondered, you know, what it was going to be like the first time I ever stuck my nose on a target and I started seeing Iraqis on the ground and know that I was going to kill those guys. You know, was it going to be hard to do? But I got to thinking, you know, if I don't do my job, if I don't kill those Iraqis, then they're going to kill some of my buddies when the Marines start pushing across the ground, and I don't want to be responsible for that.
To accomplish the mission, the Harriers fly low, and low is vulnerable. The Harrier has one engine. Knock it out, and most likely, the plane is lost. A heat-seeking, or IR missile, will home in on the Harrier near the center of the fuselage, near the rear nozzles, or hot nozzles, an area of the plane which can reach temperatures as high as 1,400 degrees Fahrenheit.
We learned a few things out of it. We used to think that if you went 450 knots or above, you didn't have to worry about getting hit by an IR shoulder-mounted weapon. That's no longer true.
Harrier pilots are hit hard in the Gulf by the heat-seeking missiles of the Iraqi forces. One is Captain Craig Berryman.
I felt just a big thump on the side of the airplane and heard this huge explosion, and the airplane went end over end. I started seeing the ground rushing up toward me, and I'm thinking I'm going to have to make a decision here pretty quick as to whether I'm going to punch out of the airplane or whether I'm going to just stay with it. Now, the reason I had to make that decision is because our intel guys had given us some pretty graphic briefings as to what the Iraqis were doing to some of the Kuwaiti resistance folks, and it was not pretty. I didn't want that to happen to me, so I thought, well, maybe I'll just ride this airplane in. And the more I thought about it as I'm coming down in the airplane, I said, well, that's kind of a stupid idea.
Berryman ejects and watches his plane hit the deck and slam onto an Iraqi trench line.
There was a sand dune probably half a mile or so inland from me, and I figure if I can get over that sand dune, it'll give me a chance to pull out my survival radio, pull out my pistol, and come up with some sort of a evasion plan. As I start to run, I start seeing the sand flipping up around me as the Iraqis start shooting at me again. And I keep running. I finally get to the sand dune, and just on the other side of the sand dune was an Iraqi armored personnel carrier rolling up that I hadn't seen, and I basically ran myself into another unit.
In an instant, Berryman, the U.S. Marine Harrier pilot, becomes a trophy for the Iraqis, a prisoner of war.
When you land and you find out, hey, one of the Harriers didn't come home, it kind of hits in that, hey, those sparkles you're seeing on the ground, they're actually shooting at us and they're trying to kill us. And then you find that, yes, they did get somebody. You take a moment to reflect on your comrade, but then you look at what you're doing. Are our tactics sound? Are we doing delivering our weapons properly? Are we doing our job right? And you kind of look over those, and you always learn from whether it's a mistake or a combat loss, whatever it may be. And once you do that, then you just press on. It was very sad to hear about Craig. We didn't know if he was alive or not.
Berryman is taken to Baghdad, where other captured American pilots are held.
As I'm sitting in this dark, damp, smelly cell, I can hear the Iraqis beating on a prisoner next to me, and that's probably the worst feeling I could ever imagine, just listening to somebody else being beaten, because you know that there's nothing that you can do to help them out. And probably the next worst thing is knowing that sooner or later your turn is going to come and they're going to come in and beat you.
The Edge Pizza from Pizza Hut is back. It's toppings on top of toppings with no outer crust to fence them in. Go to The Edge with either the works, meaty, or pepperoni for just $9.99 for a medium. Pizza Hut. Now you can order America's favorite pizza on your iPhone.
Hi, may I help you?